Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome to everyone. This morning we will be conducting a webinar on government DOD basics of finding solicitations and bidding for government work. And just a couple of administrative items before we actually get started. If you are using the speakerphone, please make sure your phones are on mute. Any questions you may have, you can write those questions into the chat feature of the webinar, and we'll address those at the end. This webinar is being recorded, and you can go to the CADSQ website later to have access to these charts. So you can go to CADSQ.ok.gov, which is the CADSQ website. You've also been given a handout as you logged into the webinar this morning. It's a Word document that has all of the points of contact information, and so that's available to you through that Word document. And finally, this is the first time we've actually attempted to do a pilot demo through actual website that Jack will be leading us through, so hopefully we won't have any problems, but with that we'll go ahead and get started. Next chart. Okay, so for this morning we are going to just do a brief overview of what the Center of Aerospace and Defense Supplier Quality Program is and what we do for Oklahoma companies. Then we are going to get into the meat of the webinar, which is government and DOD bidding, and Jack will be covering on subjects on how you get started, how to find government or DOD solicitations that fit your business. We'll cover how to bid on government solicitations, and again Jack will do an online demonstrations of all of that, and then finally we'll have the points of contact at the end of the webinar as well. Next. So the CADSQ program was created by the Oklahoma legislature, and the purpose was to assist Oklahoma companies to capture more business from the DOD, especially Tinker and its prime contractor. Now, we are organized within the Aeronautics Commission that has the overall responsibility for the CADSQ program. The focus is the aerospace industry and developing suppliers that will add jobs to the Oklahoma economy. We say that the program is statewide in reach and national reach in opportunity, and what that means is that we really don't care where the contract comes from. The only thing we care about is where the work is performed. So the contract may be issued out of Hill Air Force Base, Utah, for example, but as long as the work is performed here in Oklahoma, then the CADSQ program is available to you. And the best thing about the CADSQ program is it is free to Oklahoma companies. So our assistance is free to you as long as the work is performed in Oklahoma. We do assist companies to become qualified to bid direct as prime contractors or indirectly as suppliers to OEMs like Boeing or Lockheed Martin. We will assist you in understanding the government and OEM contracting processes, and we at LSI have quite a bit of experience in this. We're very fortunate today that Jack will be conducting this, and Jack's got over 38 years of experience doing this kind of work, so he is very well qualified. Next. So some of the things that we do to help Oklahoma companies is training, and that's what this webinar is all about. We're going to show you how to do searches and talk about preparing bids and understanding documents. We will do searches for you if that's something you would like, but what we want to really do is to train you how to do those searches yourself. We will do market research and strategic planning if that's something you're interested in. Next. Source approval request or SARs are something we can also help you with. Proposal preparations, and then understanding engineering and technical documents as well. And sometimes the best thing we can do for companies is make you aware of the services that are available from other agencies such as the Oklahoma Manufacturing Alliance or the Oklahoma Bid Assistance Network, as well as the Department of Commerce or the Small Business Administration. Next. And at this point, I will turn it over to Jack Cernak, who will conduct the rest of the webinar.
Well, welcome, and I'm glad so many folks are interested in this. I'm coming to you from beautiful Denver, Colorado. It's a sunny day here, and so we're enjoying the weather up here now. Snow is past. Let me start with, there are lots of government websites out there that you can latch onto, but I'm going to limit my focus to two, and that is the Federal BizOps, which is a general website, and DLA DIBBS website, and I'll talk a little bit more about them. I'm going to cover a little bit about what registrations you really need to utilize the networks and how to get passwords, and I'll do a little bit of search techniques to show you how I do searches and locate items. And we'll cover some bidding strategies. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go on the websites and I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I do to see and show you basically how straightforward it is to bid. The first website I want to talk about is the Federal Business FBO. If you've done any work with the government, you're familiar with this website. Mostly the rules are that solicitations that are greater than $25,000, anyone in the government can put it on this website. So you should see all solicitations within the U.S. government greater than $25,000 should appear on this website, whether it's Homeland Security, Department of Justice, DOD, Tinker Air Force Base. If it's greater than $25,000, it should show on this website, and I will go to that website and show you a little bit of how to navigate it. The second area website I want to cover is the Defense Logistics Agency called DLA. And DLA has only DOD solicitations on it, and it does not have all DOD solicitations on it. What has gone on is over the years, the Department of Defense has been transitioning a lot of its purchasing to DLA. DLA initially started out, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago as a pencil and paper organization. They just delivered small items. And over the years, decisions have been made within the Department of Defense to transfer the procurement of all items, and they're in the process now of actually transitioning repair of items to the DLA websites. So I'm going to show you that's becoming a more and more important website. My thinking is, and my experience is, these two websites will cover most of what you need if you want to get into the business of DoD bidding. And if you want to go to the other websites down the road when you become very experienced at it, then we could help you do that. I've given you the two websites on this slide that I'm going to go to. Couple upfront discussions is you need to have a DUNS number, and you can get a DUNS number at the SBA.gov website I gave you there. You also need to register in SAM, and I've given you the SAM registration website. And from there you get a cage code, and I'm going to talk a little bit about cage codes in a minute. And then you need to establish a DLA DIBBS user account, and I'll show you how to do that at the DLA homepage, and there's the website. And then when you do that, you end up with what they call a DLA DIBBS super user and a password that is given to you. The super user means if you have a company and you want more than one person downloading or looking at data or solicitations on the web, you have a super user, and that super user can identify sub-users. Also, I want to point out that your OBAN individual can provide you assistance with any of these registrations. And I would encourage you to, if you're not familiar with what's going on here, that you get these registrations done in assistance and contact your OBAN individual to give you that assistance. And we'll give you a contact at the end for that. The way a lot of times I've run across companies say, well, I can't access the drawings. I can't look at drawings. If I can't look at drawings, I can't bid. And that's a true statement. I'm going to go to you get drawings through TechDocs in DLA. And TechDocs is, if you'd imagine it as a big file drawer and in the sky. And that file drawer contains all the technical data necessary to bid on a solicitation. And that tech data is all loaded in a file cabinet, and the name of that file cabinet in DLA is called C folders. And so the other item you need to know is that before you can access some data, well, I should say most of the data in DLA is restricted data. And in order to access that restricted data, you need a JCP certification or 2345 form. It's just simply a one-page form that we can provide you with, or you can get it off the website, that basically you send into DLA and you sign it, and you're basically telling DLA that you will not utilize any of the technical data for any purpose. You can't get technical data off the website and then use it to manufacture a product and sell it to someone else. You can only access that data for the intended purpose of manufacturing the item for that particular solicitation. And it's available on this data is available online. Now, another point that sometimes confuses folks is, again, you need a separate password to access C folders, and I'll kind of show you how to get access to that password. You cannot get that password. You need that password initially to access the data. The third thing you need is you need some way to open up the drawings. And we have found there are numerous software packages out there, but we have found, and I use Lucent Viewer to open up the drawings. And you can just Google Lucent Viewer. It's a free download, and then once you download that drawing, you can open up the drawings, and that'll give you the software. You just put it on your PC, and it'll automatically open the drawings, or at least it should. A couple of things that are important in the world of DOD in terms of solicitations and opportunities. The first one is solicitations. All the solicitations within DLA have a tracking number in them, and they usually begin with an SP. And I've given you an example of what it'll look like. It's an XP 4A7. Or it can have, but that'll be in that format, and that's your solicitation number. If you're going to talk to DLA about anything, the solicitation number is a good way to do it. The second thing you need to have, and you need to know about, is a cage code. DLA does not, DOD does not talk to companies necessarily by company names. Every company in the United States that does business with DOD will have a 5-digit cage code. And that cage code is your communication link to DLA. If they want to talk to you or you want to talk to them, the first thing they'll ask you for is your cage code. And you get that cage code through your registration in SAMS. The next information you need to have is the national stock number. So the national stock number is a government part number. So original equipment manufacturers will have a part number, and everybody's familiar with part numbers that they have for their company or for the original equipment manufacturers. The government will then assign a national stock number or an NSN to all of the parts that they procure. And so you have, the national stock number is in a standard format, and I've showed you the format there. It's 13 digits, and it's 4 digits, 2 digits, 3 digits, and 4 digits. That gives you the stock number, or the national stock number. That national stock number is broken into 2 sections. And it's important to understand that the first 4 digits are known as the federal stock class. And what that means is if you're buying, what the government does is classify all of the items into different classes. And I'm going to show you those classes here in a minute. But all the items are in stock classes, so that if you're buying an airplane part, it's in a 1560 category, and if you're buying farm machinery, it'll be in a different stock class, and it'll have the first 4 digits will be different. So that stock class is very important, and it isolates where, and it helps you in your solicitations or in your searching for items. The last 9 digits are called a NIN, or a National Identification Number, and that is unique to each stock class. Now, if you have 2 different stock classes, you could have the same NIN. So the 3 points, in summary here, the 3 communication links to DOD are the national stock number, the cage code, and the solicitation number. The solicitation, one other additional item is the solicitation number will usually, after you receive a win or an award, that solicitation number will turn into a purchase request. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to show you what I told you is the next way I'm going to go about it. So you go to the DLA website, and the way to go to the DLA website, I'll cover FBO in a minute, but the DLA website, I just Googled DLA DIBBS, and the first link that comes up is the DLA website, and you'll go to the home page, and you'll see a dashboard. And I'll talk about that dashboard. I'm going to talk about frequently asked questions, and then it'll show you how to register and get a password. And then I'm going to talk about the stock classes. I'll show you all the different stock classes that are on that website. And then I'll show you the C folder's password, how you get to that. And then I'm actually going to search for an opportunity, and I'll go to the DLA website and do that. The other thing is I wanted to show you is I want to talk a little bit more about the federal supply classes, and I'm going to give you an example here. Here's 4 federal supply. I'm going to show you there are actually hundreds of, or several hundred federal supply classes, but here's 4 examples. And the reason I'm showing you these 4 examples, because if you're looking to manufacture an item, they won't necessarily have it titled manufactured items. For example, Federal Stock Class 1005 is for guns through 30 millimeter. Well, what that means, it could mean is the government could buy guns in that federal supply class, or what it might be is the federal government repairs guns. And so when they repair a gun, they will need parts for that gun to repair it. And so they will go online and they will solicit bit and piece parts for the guns to repair them. Same thing with 1560, that's the airframe structural components. So any airframe structural components in DOD, whether it's an F-18, an F-16, a B-52, And if it's a structural component that goes on any of those aircraft, it'll be in the 1560 class. And when the Air Force or the Navy repairs an airplane, they need parts to repair that airplane. And they will order the parts through DLA, and DLA will then put the solicitation online. So the key point here is that you need to decide for your company which FSCs you wish to support, and then you will search by those FSCs. The next area I'm going to go to, and this may be a little bit, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to, as I go through the DLA solicitations, I'm going to cover all these on my demonstration, but I want to cover them. When I do my search, I'm going to click on RFQs, and I'll show you that. And then I'm going to go search the categories in supply class. And then I'm going to search for values. And I'm going to type in 1560, 1620. And you can actually put a whole bunch of FSCs in search values separated by a comma. And then I'm going to go to the scope, and I'm going to open up RFQs posted in the last 15 days. And then I'm going to sort it by issue date, and I'll show you all this and show you why I do it this way. And then I'm going to click on items with technical documents. Usually you only want items with technical documents because you want to look at the tech data. And then you'll see, when I do this, a complete list of recent DOD solicitations will appear for the FSCs selected. Then when I go to the solicitations and I see it on DLA, you're going to see the national stock number, and I'm going to talk about an AMSC, which is technically called an acquisition method suffix code. And I know I'm using a technical term here, but all material that they purchase, the important point here is that it's G-coded, and this will mean something to you in a few minutes. It means that if it's G-coded, it basically means that the government owns the technical data, they can give you the technical data, and you can manufacture the part from that technical data. If it's some other code, AMSC code other than G, it basically means that the government doesn't own the data. Now, the solicitations are listed by the name and the noun, and I'll talk about that. It also has technical documents, and if you want to look at the drawings under technical documents, you just click it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And then the solicitation is also there, and that is basically your contractual document with the government. And then if you wish to quote it, after you've looked at the drawing, you just click on quote, and it'll take you to some forms that you basically fill out that is information about your company and basically what your price is, and it asks you some questions about the item, such as, are you making it yourself? Is it surplus? Are you making it in this country? Where are you making it? And you fill out that information, you put your price in, and you hit send, and that's your bid. The purchase request is on the website, tells you the quantity, tells you the issue date, and the return date. And I'm going to cover all that. The reason I put this up front is after I go through the solicitation, I figured you'd want to come back and say, well, where was that at? What were these informations about? And so I wanted to put it in the briefing so that you could refer to it. So it's reference material now, and I'll demonstrate it in it right now. So let me go to the DLA website on the home page, and like I said, the way you do it is you Google DLA DIBBS. So I'm going to go there right now. Hopefully this technology is going to work, and there is the home page for DLA. Up at the top up here is a dashboard, home, solicitations, request for quotes, RFQs. I'm not going to talk about RFPs today, and I'm not going to talk I'm going to talk about tech data, and you can also see awards there. The first thing I want to cover on this home page is the first thing you'll see is I want to cover frequently asked questions, because I found that these frequently asked questions, assuming it opens up here for me, it should have opened up already. there. Okay, it didn't open up. But frequently asked questions are a list of a whole bunch of questions of what goes on in the DLA and how to do everything. So everything I'm covering, you can probably find on frequently asked questions. So you just go to that, read through the questions, read through the answers, and you'll be, it'll cover a lot of what I'm covering today, plus it'll cover more. Over here, on the right is vendor registration. So if you want to register for the DLA website, you just click on that and you go to vendor registration. There's also here registration guidelines, and it tells you what information on how to register. It gives you the details of how to do that. It's pretty straightforward. Over here are the requests for quote, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, and hopefully it's going to open up for me. But I want to go down a little bit further and cover some other things on the page. References. There's a vendor performance. One of the things I tell suppliers is that if you bid on an item for DLA or DOD, you need to, as I will say, you need to say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. The government keeps a record of your performance. If you are awarded a contract and you deliver that contract on time and the quality is good, then what will happen is they'll get a mark against your CADSQ code. And if you do bad, they'll put a bad mark in, and that will affect your performance down the road, or affect you receiving awards down the road. The next line is supplier requirements, visibility. This can tell you future requirements. It'll tell you, you can look up a stock number here, and it'll tell you what the DLA thinks they're going to be buying in the future. It's not 100% reliable, but it can give you some insight on it. I want to go over here to technical data, and I'm going to click on federal supply stock classes. And as I mentioned before, here are all the stock classes that DLA and the government has. And you can see I talked about 005 guns to 30 millimeter. I'm going to demonstrate going to 1560 aircraft structural components. But you can look through these and you can figure out what is your area of expertise and what are the kind of items that you want to look for solicitations in the government on. There's quite a few of them, as you can see, all the way down. Engine oil filters, turbochargers and components, bearings, sawmill and planing mill machinery, woodworking machines. So there's quite a bit of different different kinds of opportunities you can see. So I would recommend that you kind of look through this. If you make bolts or screws, there's 5305, or nuts and washers are in that. Fastening devices, O-rings, radio navigation equipment are all down here. And so if you look for your area of expertise, and then you tend to search on those items that are in your area of expertise. Okay? Let me back out of that. Up here is a DLA collaboration C folders, and that's a place that you can go to register and to look for to get into C folders and to get your password for C folders. Okay. And also, there's a lot, sometimes we get questions on packaging. One of the areas here, you can go to this DLA packaging website. I'm not going to go to it. It's beyond the scope of this to talk about packaging. But you can go to that website and you can find information on what the packaging codes mean and what the government does in packaging. One of the things they're doing, DLA has been moving in the direction of commercial packaging and going away from mill standard packaging, which is a good thing for small manufacturers. The next line is Defense and Federal Specifications and Standards, Assist. If you want a federal specification or standard, you can get it right on this website by just clicking on this and putting in the document number, and you can even download it. It doesn't have SAE specs, but it does have mill standards that are available to the government. I'm going to go back up here to quotations and hopefully open up a document. I've been online for a while, and sometimes they may kick you off, so give me a minute here to see if I can go back online there. So that technology has failed me here. So let me try to go back online another way. I'm going to try to go back in. I think what may have happened to me is I checked it before I went online, and it may have kicked me off. All right, so I'm going to go back to my home page. Give me a minute here. It usually doesn't take this long. It usually goes right in. So I'm suspecting that there's something.
Hey, Jack, you can try closing the tab and opening a new one.
Close this tab and open another one?
Yes.
Yeah, let me try that again here.
It looks like your session timed out.
It's not coming up for me for some reason. Let me close it out again and try it again. It should come up right away. It usually comes up right away. The way I do it is I click here and I just type in DLA, DIBBS. What I'm going to do, in the interest of time, is I'm going to go into the FBO, and then I'm going to come back to this and see if it'll open up for me when I come back.
Yeah, Jack, it's not working on my network either, so I think their site might be having some issues.
Okay, let me go back to here and go to the next slide here. Okay, I'm gonna go to Federal Biz Ops, and then we'll come back to the DLA and see if it'll open up. Federal Biz Ops, we're going to go to Vendors and Citizens. We're going to talk about registering, and then I'm going to go through the search demonstration process and the set-aside codes in Federal Biz Ops, and we'll talk about it. And I'm going to talk about the opportunity procurement type, pre-solicitations, combined synopsis solicitation, sources sought, NIAC search, and class code search. Then I'm going to actually do a search. So let's go back to that slide, and hopefully I can go online and find that one. Okay, when you go to fbo.gov, this is what you see. And here's vendors and citizens, and this is where you register, and it talks about how to register right there. It's a very simple process. I'm already registered, so I'm going to log in, and it says it's just terms and conditions. And now this is the FedBiz Ops homepage, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to search on Find Opportunities. And I'm going to show you right here when this comes up, this says that there are 25,586 opportunities in FedBiz Ops greater than $25,000. And you go, wow, that's great, you know. The problem is how do you find an opportunity that you're interested in? And so I'm going to do some basics here and show you how you can do that. There are a number of ways you can do it. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I want to show you a couple of things here on this home page here. You can see that there's a solicitation. It's from the Defense Information Systems. It's a combined synopsis solicitation. What that means is it tells you what they're buying, and it's actually a solicitation, and it was posted on today. It's a new posting, came up today, and these usually run from the latest solicitation to the oldest solicitation. And you can see that there's a Department of Veteran Affairs, DLA is on here. Sometimes you'll see items duplicated between here and the DLA website. Here's the Navy, Health and Human Services. So it's all of DOD, and all of the U.S. government is on here, so there are all kinds of opportunities here. The problem is, how do I find the one I want to bid on, or one that suits my business? So I'm going to go to Advanced Search, and now the other way, one of the ways you reduce the number of opportunities is you look at posted dates. You can see here that you've got items that were just posted in the last 2 days, all the way down to items posted in the last 365 days. The more days you go, the greater the number of opportunities. So one of the things I would encourage people to do is to go online and search every couple days for the solicitations that you're looking for. In the federal stock classes that you're looking for, and you don't have to wade through 25,000 opportunities. So let's just, for today's purposes, we're going to click on the last 2 days. Up here you got place of performance. Sometimes items are restricted, or you only want to do items that the performance is restricted to a certain location. Normally, I don't consider that significant for most solicitations. Then the next area is set-aside codes. Let's say that you're a hub zone and you only want to look at hub zone solicitations. Well, you would just click on that, and all you would see out of those 25,000 is hub zone companies or hub zone solicitations. Or if you're a service-disabled veteran, you would click on that. I usually leave this open, and or you can just look on total small business if you're just a small business item. But if you want items that give you the most wide ranging, then I leave this blank, and I go down here to combine synopsis solicitation. And you could look at, there's a pre-solicitation. Sometimes the government will say, as on a pre-solicitation, will say, hey, I intend to procure this item in the near future, and they'll put that out for you to know that it's going to be out there. The problem with that item is they generally don't put the data with it. So if you can't really see the data, you have to be familiar with the item and be looking for it in particular to take advantage of it. Over here is sources sought, and sources sought is just what it says. The government doesn't know anybody that can make an item, so they'll put. I like to search on sources sought from time to time because it's items that the government needs that they don't have. They may or may not have data for it, but they're looking for somebody to manufacture it. Mostly I look on combined synopsis solicitation, and that's what we're going to look at today. And then we're going to go down here. If you have a NIAX code, and the term NIAX escapes me, so I won't tell you what it is since I don't know. But anyway, the NIAX code is when you sign up in SAMS, you put your NIAX code. If you're a corn farmer, you put that NIAX code in. If you're fishing, you put that code in. If you're mining, you put these codes in. If you get down here to the 300s, food manufacturing, malt, web corning, there's just all kinds of NIAX code. This kind of isolates your industry, and you can look through your industry to see only solicitations that have these NIAX codes will show up. And so you can look at items that that are in your area and just click on those, and you've already signed in. You should have put some NIAX codes in your SAM registration, and apparel manufacturing. So it's just there's a lot of them here, but you can click on some of them, and that will limit what solicitations come up out of those 25,000. What I like to do is I go by classification code. I talked about federal stock classes early on, and I talked about the federal stock class being 4 digits. In FBO, they only use the first 2 digits, and the first 2 digits are I told you 1560. I gave you an example. Well, first 2 digits are 15, and they show up here. So I'm going to sort by 15 and 16. And remember, I put the last 2 days, and I'm sorting. I'm doing combined synopsis solicitation, so these are bids. And then I'm going down to 15 and 16 on my stock class, and then I'm going to go down here and hit search. And there they are. Now I just went from 25,000 opportunities to 50. Now 50 is you can look at that, and that's doable. Okay, and so for example, let me click on one of these, and I'll show you. Now a lot of these you notice are from DLA. They're combined. This one's a total small business. This one's open. This one's total small business. Here's the dates they were posted. So if you want a total small business rib airfoil, you think you can make airfoils, and that's what you're in. We can click on that, and there's your specification number, solicitation number. I talked about the SPE number, and it's a combined solicitation. If you go over here, you see it's a total small business set aside. It was posted on 2 December, and the response is due by 10 December for this solicitation. And here's, by the way, is the manufacturing, is the NIAX code. Had you typed in 338-336-413, this solicitation would have come up under that item. Now, this is your synopsis that I was talking about, portion of it. And so the quantity is 58. And the item this item has approved sources, and it gives the cage code of approved sources. So this one is not a G-coded item. This item is, unless you are one of those approved sources, or unless you submit a SAR, a source approval request, you would not be eligible to manufacture this item. It usually tells you that in the solicitation. And so we won't look at that item, but I wanted to point out to you that there's quite a bit of information right here. There's your stock number on the item, and so you gather this is your synopsis information, and there's the contracting office address, and there's your points of contact should you be interested in this particular item. Let's go back, and let me see if I can find a G-coded item. I'm going to find the I've already looked up, and I found a G-coded item here on page 2. I think it's, I think this fitting, I looked at it earlier, it's a DLA item. It's a total small business. And there's the fitting. I'm going to click on that, and it says, here's your stock number, here's your solicitation number. It was posted on 1 December, and it requires a response by 14 December. They're buying 14 items. It's from Warner Robins, DLA in Warner Robins, and the delivery on it is 379 days after you sign the contract. You have 379 days to deliver the items. Wait a minute. Well, it says 300 days. Line 2. Oh, there's also, looks like there's another item you're going to have to deliver in 120 days. That's probably a first article. Quotes must be submitted electronically. Everything is done on this one. Tells you it's going to be done by electronic. Now, if you want to look at the data on this one item, you just click on DLA Aviation, and here is your solicitation, and here's your tech docs. Now, I'm going to take advantage and see if I can look at the drawing on this item. Click on that, and it should take me to the DLA drawing, and it does. Now, I wouldn't go into this if I did not have a JCP 2345 approved on record, and I did not have a C folders password. I've already got that. It links it into my computer, and it allows me to look at the drawings. I'm going to take advantage of this in case I don't get back into the DLA. Because I am in DLA. It took me from FBO website to the DLA website. Now, this contains all the documents you need to manufacture this item. And a little bit of information on, here's your document number. If you wish to download the item, you do it here. The cage code that's referenced here is the cage code of the original manufacturer. And then there's a document data code. This is fairly important in your initial look-see at the item. Most of these information here is system specifications. What's important, you'll need all of these documents downloaded if you wish to make this item. You also, the CN here is a change notice. So this item here, this system spec had a change. So you'll want to look at that. Here's PL stands for parts list. DD stands for drawing. So this is the drawing that I would look at for this item. Before, I'm going to open that drawing, but before I open that drawing, I want to come over and go through the rest of these items. This is a drawing revision number. Here's the number of sheets associated with that document. You can see that there may be a lot of documents, but there's only one sheet with them. The data is unclassified. And this export control here is an important information, because if it says it has a Y in this column, this means if you do not have a 2345 form on record, that you will not be able to open that drawing. This one, this N says no, which means you could open that document, but you wouldn't be able to bid on this item because you don't have the 2345, and you wouldn't be able to open any of these documents here. License agreement, let me talk about that. Sometimes you'll see a number in this column. And what that number is it's a license agreement back to the OEM. And if you want to look at that drawing, what you have to do is sign a document. You click on it. It takes a while. You go to the OEM and you sign that document, which basically is the same as a 2345. And what you're saying is, I promise to use that drawing only for the manufacture of this item. And you can't use it to manufacture and sell the product. Now I'm going to look over here. This is DD, so that tells me it's a drawing. So I'm going to go over here under document number, and I'm going to take a look at that drawing. And this is what I would encourage you to do, is you look at the drawing, and I'm clicking open, downloading the drawing there, and I'm opening the drawing. Now there's the drawing. and I can see the drawing, and it tells me, and once I look at that, I say, well, is that something that I can make? Is that something that's in my niche? And so that's how you, if you look at that drawing, it tells you whether or not that's something you want to bid on. So what you do is you look at the noun, you look at the NSN, you look at the drawing, you decide whether this is something that you can make. And if you decide you want to make it, now you go further in the process. So I'm gonna close that out. Go back here. I'm not going to open any of those other documents. But now, that gives you the drawing. Now what I'm going to take advantage of is I'm going to take advantage of the solicitation, and this is the SPE document, and it's your contract that you have with the government. And I'm going to open that up, and this is your contract with the government. I'm going to enlarge it so hopefully you can see it. And so it's a 10-page document. It's an RFQ. It's connect. There's an X here, so it's for small business set aside. Here's your request number. Here's the date it was issued. Here is your purchase request number. And here is your delivery by, and it said see schedule, so that was on the original schedule that we looked at. Block 5 is in every one of these, and this is your contact point within DLA. Melissa O'Kelly is the buyer. She's not technical, but if you have any questions on the drawing or any questions on the solicitation, you either email her or give her a call, and she becomes your contact point, remembering that she's a contracting person, and if she doesn't know, she knows where to go. I'm going to look at a few things. It's beyond this scope of this briefing or this webinar to discuss the details of this thing, this document, but here's your date that you have to have it submitted by. This is general information on who to contact and how to, I just covered that. The one thing I want to, here's the information on your bid and your price, and you put that in there. There's a section A, which has general information, like this buy may be a candidate for automated award. This says here, a lot of companies are concerned about the quality requirements. I'll just cover this briefly. The contractor shall comply with ISO 9000 higher level quality standard. It says comply. It doesn't say you need to be certified in 9001. Most of the time, if you can comply with ISO 9001 requirements, you can bid. They do not normally require certification. Very seldom have I seen certification requirements. The next thing, so there's general information here on Section A, and you can read through that. I'm not going to cover that. Sometimes I'll point out that they have a history. And so in this item, this tells you that they purchased 2 items. The unit cost was $1,000, and the last purchase was in 1986. And so Section B is important to you, and I encourage all small manufacturers to read this section carefully. If there are any changes to the drawing or any changes to the manufacturing process, it'll be in Section B. So you need to be careful as you bid on an item that you pay very close attention to Section B within the document. And read through it and become familiar. Now, one of the things in all these contractual documents that I tell small manufacturers is they seem to be overwhelming at first, but a lot of the information in these documents, except for in Section B, even in Section B to a certain extent, are boilerplate. And so once you've read through these things several times, you become familiar with them and they're repetitive. So out of the 10 pages that are required here, you don't really, it's not really 10 pages. It really boils down to 1 or 2 pages after you are familiar with the documentation. So I tell you that it looks overwhelming at the beginning, but eventually you get comfortable with it. This is the CLIN. The quantity is 14, and there's your unit price and your total price. And it tells you how to package it. It tells you where to ship it, this kind of information. So I'm going to bail out of this right now and not spend any more time with it unless you have specific questions on an item. So let's see where this takes me as I go back. Now, if you're going to quote on the item, there it is. All you have to do is click on the quote, and it'll take you to form. I'm not going to go there because you have to be registered in DIBBS, and you have to have the password that I covered at the beginning. Once you have that registration and that password, it'll open up a form of about 3 or 4 pages, and you fill out that form and you hit send, and that's your bid, and it goes in. So I think I've covered everything on this. There's the issue date. There's the return date. Let me now go back to, I'm going to go back to DLA and see if it'll let me in to the DLA website. Now, so that's your FBO website. I showed you how to bid, to go through that. And so I'm going to go out of that. Let me go back here and try one more time to get into the DLA website. And so I got into the website, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look for opportunities. I'm going to do a search here. There it is. Now this is your search page. I'm back to the DLA DIBBS website, just so I haven't confused you. I'm a little worried about having confused you since I bounced back. But I've gone from the FBO website back to the DLA website. So now this is how you search on DLA DIBBS. That's why I'm going to demonstrate that to you. I covered a lot of these terms earlier, but I'm going to walk through them now and demonstrate them. So the first thing is the NSN part number. Search categories. You can search by solicitation, by PR, by cage, by part number, but I'm going to search by supply class. That's that 4-digit number. Okay. Search values. Remember the federal supply class is 4 digits, so I'm going to put in 1560, and I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to put 1620. You can put as many of those supply classes in as you want, separated by a comma. The only thing is, when you do that, the more you put in, the more items you get to look at. So that's good and bad. So next thing I want to look at is RFQs available for quoting. I don't want everything. So what I want to do is I want to kind of limit myself. So you can look at RFQs posted today, or you can look at RFQs posted in the last 15 days. I tend to look at the ones that are posted in the last 15 days. Now, I'm going to sort by. You can sort by NSN. I'm going to sort by issue date, and that'll become apparent in a minute why I sort by issue date, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then I want items with technical documents. I only want items that have tech data with them. Sometimes if you want only small business set-asides, or you want hub zone, or you want service disabled veteran, you just click on that and that's all you'll get. But I want to leave it open here for a minute. And so I'm going to come up to the search item, and I'm going to go ahead and search on that. And now you'll notice I came up with 439 opportunities in those 2 federal stock classes that came out in the last 15 days. Now, here's the format that you see. And what I'm going to do, and this is the earliest in the last 15 days that was posted, and I'm going to go to the end, page 9, because I want to see the most recent. So it takes me, so here is number 439. That's the most recent, or that's the most recent solicitation. It was posted today, and it closes. I got something blocking it here. It closes on the 14th of December. So it's not unusual to get 10 to 14 days, sometimes even 7 days to make your decision on whether you bid or not. This item, I'm going to click on this item. Now that's what you have here is that 439, which I'm at the end. That's the stock number. This is the noun. There's my drawings. There's my solicitation, and there's where I quote. And the quantity they want is 3. So for discussion purposes, I want to click on the NSN for a minute. And this comes up when I do that. This is the first thing I would ask you to do. And the reason I ask you to do this is see this AMSC code G. I talked to you earlier that AMSC code G-coded means that the government owns the data is all available for you to manufacture this item. Oftentimes there's a C or an H or a T or some other letter there. And if there's some other letter here, it basically means that the government doesn't own the data. So you want to make sure, if you're looking at an item, that there's a G under the AMSC, okay? And so I'm going to go back out. I look at nouns. So sometimes, if you're manufacturing a part, this might be something you can make. Sometimes supports are machine parts. Sometimes supports are sheet metal parts. Remember, I'm looking at aircraft parts. I see a skin, so I know a skin is a sheet metal part. Okay, sometimes it's a handle. Sometimes handles are castings. So this is the kind of information that you basically can see. So now I'm going to go back, and since it's a G-coded item, I'm going to click on Tech Docs, like I did. Now you see this is similar to what I saw when I went to FBO. And there's your drawings. This is my base document. Keep in mind what that, I'll show you what that means. There's the drawings. I'll click on that. And then here's all the documents that you need to manufacture the item. So if you were going to make this item and you would bid on it, you want to look at all of these, but the only first thing you want to look at, you just want to look at that drawing. And that drawing, I always look at that first, and what I look for is I see what the item is. Well, this item, I blow it up, this item looks like a sheet metal item to me. So it's probably, unless you're in the sheet metal manufacturing business, this is probably not something you want. You'd say, well, I don't want to make this item. So I'm going to close out of that. And I covered all this information. You can see there's more items that would know under export control. So there's a lot of items you could open up. Generally, you want to open up, you can only use these items if you're going to manufacture, if you're going to bid on this part. You can't use these documents to manufacture an item for producing another item and selling it on the open market. I'm going to go to here's a fitting, structural, that's G-coded. So it'll have all the drawing, and here's a list of all the drawings. Sometimes I look at this whole list here and I see, well, gee, that's a lot of drawings. Sometimes there's only 3 or 4 items here. Sometimes there's a lot more. So let's go back. It's getting late here. We've been on this an hour, so let me go back to the slides. So I've covered DLA, DIBBS, and I've covered FBO, and I've given you an insight on how to bid and what the basics of bidding are. And so kind of open for questions now. That's kind of the end of what I plan to cover today. Now we can do this briefing. I sometimes will do searches and I've sent opportunities to companies, and we've worked together and identified items that they can manufacture. And so I will sometimes do the research for you. I can do that after I talk to you and find out what areas or what you're interested in. I've done that from time to time. I can also give you this briefing, and we can do it online one-on-one. I can go through all these demonstrations. I've done training. One of the things I highly recommend is if there's enough sophistication in this that if you want to get into the government bidding, that I really encourage you to have somebody that I can train somebody over the phone using what we just did here, and train them in more details and go into a lot more depth, training them on how to do this bidding. And that way they become familiar with it for your company, and they become the go-to guy, so to speak, or gal, to do your government bidding for you. Now that's, I think, there's our points of contact if you want to get a hold of us. And I think that can, and here also is, I mentioned OBAN. You can call Carter Merkel, and he will get you in contact with your OBAN coordinator, who is a great help in terms of helping you with your registrations. And here's Hank and myself and Alicia, who can also provide assistance to you. That's it. Any questions? Can I turn it over to you? Or Hank?
Yep. We appreciate everyone's attendance today, and again, either contact us through email, or you can contact Leisha at any time for further assistance. And with that, we will conclude today's webinar.